Of course, we had to reuse the footprint, but we thought that the most important thing on this project was actually to re-estate the view to the church. I think every building in a city needs to give something back to the public realm. And I think if a building doesn't only takes and doesn't give anything, I think it's a bad building, to be honest.
The competition scheme was very different. It didn't have this view through to the church. And once we were able to secure a back entrance with the help of Minerva, Ellen and Rem looked again at the scheme, because previously the dustman, the postman, everyone had to come in the front door, as they did in the old New Court. And that's when MMA came up with this idea of lifting it. Yeah. I think the real clincher with the planners at the planning committee was raising the building above at the 2 levels, based on their idea of the Piazza Vecchio in Florence.
The concept of the building is actually a central cube, which we call the generic office cube, and with annexes. And we have an annex on top, which is the panorama room, and we have annexes on the side. And the annexes we actually used to connect that volume, which was in scale much larger than all the other volumes in this area, to connect to the existing surrounding buildings. So on the back we have a quite slim, narrow annex, which actually relates to the tower of the church, which works, I think, as a twin now and not as a kind of background for the building. And in St. Swithin's Lane, the annexes are quite narrow also to relate back to the size of the buildings in St. Swithin's Lane.
We're in the heart of the bank conservation area, which is the most important, I'm sure you know, of all of the conservation areas in the city. And the rule with, normally with City Corporation, with buildings like in this area, particularly next to the church, the Mansion House and the Royal Exchange, is that they should be clad in Portland stone and not more than 5 or 6 stories height. So this is a bit of a miracle that we got this building.
We didn't really know actually what was going to happen in discussion with planners, because it was our first building in London. I think it was a really, really nice process, an interactive process, where you almost feel you worked both on the building. But I think we added, in discussions with Peter Rees, quite a lot of things to the building. And I think what we did additionally is actually putting one annex on top, a kind of panorama pavilion that floats above the City of London. And creating a new roofscape, a roofscape, where you basically could create a second ground floor on a higher level. We were very keen on making an open floor plan without the core, so we moved all the surfaces of the building into the annexes. So we created in the central cube, as you see here, we have around 6 or 7 generic floors, what we call generic floors, open floor plates. But of course, in addition, in this building we also have quite a lot of, we have a staff support level with a gym and a doctor and all these and educational rooms. And we have in this building also quite a lot of meeting facilities, so this is a complete meeting level, and on top of this is the top level of the cube. We have what we call client dining rooms. This is a tradition where people lunch in the building, so they lunch here. Because what we try to do in fit out is always to try to find a link with the client, but also to try to find a link with local culture. And so as you can see, there's a lot of content that comes out of the history and the archive of the family reused in tapestries and woven into tapestries.
We commissioned a firm up in Yorkshire, Robert Thompson's, you might have heard from them. They've been around for 100 odd years. The Mouse Man, we commissioned them. And this is all solid English oak. I think there were 17 oak trees in here.
But we also did a lot of material research. We printed on felt, we did a lot of woven panels, but we also wanted to play a little bit with English habits. There's a lot of fabric in historical buildings, and we played a little bit with this in this building, as you can see on the core. So instead of having woven fabric, we used woven metal. So we tried to find a mix in this building between a modern building, but also a link to history. And some of the historical material, like paintings, is used one-to-one, and some of it is reinterpreted in a more modern way.